In this episode, we're going to talk about a little known loan officer tactic that will allow you to qualify for an extra $100,000 when you buy a house if you pay alimony. The secret is in the following guideline. It's one little paragraph, one line out of a 1,200 page document. So it's easy to miss. Some people read books, I read guidelines and investment news. So what's interesting about this guideline is that in one paragraph, it says for alimony, you must count alimony as a recurring monthly debt obligation. So you have to count it as debt. Next paragraph, it says, but if it's alimony, you could, if you want, just deduct it from the income. So that might just go right past people. But if you go back to third grade and you think about the numerator and the denominator, you realize that's a nice advantage to have. So here's a refresher. If you are in third grade or you have kids in elementary school, the first two letters of numerator are NU. That stands for never under. So numerator's on top, denominator's on the bottom. So let's look at how a ratio is going to change if alimony's either put on the top or the bottom of a fraction. The most important ratio in lending is the debt to income ratio. So let's just use some generic numbers in order to see how the ratio changes as alimony is treated differently. Let's start. You have $500 in debts, $1,000 in income. 500 divided by 1,000 is 50%. You have a 50% debt to income ratio. Now, let's say you have a $100 alimony payment a month, okay? So the way to treat alimony as a debt obligation is that you increase your debts from 500 to 600 by adding alimony. So it's now 600 divided by 1,000. Debt to income ratio goes to 60%. So we knew it was gonna go up because we're adding a debt, but how much is it gonna go up? It went from 50 to 60. What if we treated alimony as a deduction to your income? So we keep your debts the same, 500, but then your income is deducted from 1,000 to 900 because you've deducted $100 in alimony. So now your ratio is 500 divided by 900, that's 55%. So again, ratio is gonna go up because you are including alimony, but it goes up less when you put the alimony as a deduction to your income. It goes up less when you deduct a number from the denominator. And guess what? That's not just this scenario. It will always be lower if you deduct alimony from income every time. Now, let's use some real numbers and I will make some assumptions. Our borrower's gonna make $100,000 a year. They're gonna have an alimony payment of $1,000 a month. DTI, debt to income, needs to be 45% or less. Let's get started. Okay, let's start with alimony as a debt. So in both cases, the income starts out at $8,333 a month. So they're making $100 for the year. They can afford a housing payment of $2,750. So the housing payment's gonna be your mortgage, your homeowner's insurance, and your property tax. So that together all ends gonna be $2,750 because we're having to account for the $1,000 alimony payment and we have to keep the DTI ratio at 45%. Now if we subtract alimony from income over here, you will see the income's lower, but because that liability's gone, we can afford a housing payment that's $3,300. So you can afford a higher housing payment. So you can see these numbers, but I haven't yet shown you what the purchase price translates to. Okay, so over here, this is a $550,000 purchase with 20% down, okay? This option is $660,000 with 20% down. So by structuring the loan correctly, you can increase your purchasing power by over $100,000 in this example. Now, again, this is one example. Your income could be higher or lower. Your alimony payment could be higher or lower. So the bump up in your buying power by counting alimony as a deduction from your income will vary, but it will always benefit you to submit the loan where the alimony is a deduction from your income. You will always be better off that way. You might be thinking, you know, that's great. That's like inside baseball a bit because it doesn't really matter to me. Any lender can structure the loan this way. It's really nothing special, you're telling me? And yes, any lender can structure the loan this way. But let me just tell you real quick, in practice, what this will look like. Okay, so I'm gonna structure a loan so that alimony is a liability. I'm gonna submit the loan to the underwriter. They're gonna say, thanks for the loan, and they're gonna underwrite it and move forward in that manner. If I submit the loan where alimony is a deduction from the liabilities, I'm gonna get an error because there's a section of your loan application where you check, yes, I do pay alimony. Then there's a different section in your loan application where you enter the amount of that liability. So because there's this checkbox, yes, but there's no number in the field that should have the alimony payment, it's error, ineligible, not approved. You're not gonna get an approval through the underwriting system. So what you have to do is you really have to jam it on the underwriter. And you have to say, look, here's the guideline, and here's how I'm treating alimony, and this is how we're gonna do things. So it takes an understanding of, yes, I'm getting an error, but I understand why I'm getting an error, and it's an invalid error, and I'm gonna move forward, and I'm gonna submit the loan this way, and I'm gonna work it out with the lender and the underwriter, and everything's gonna work out just fine. But it just takes that understanding and that comfort with the guidelines. So this is the point where I say, if you enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up, hit the like, and subscribe if you're not subscribed. This is just one tip to increase your buying power. I have others, so please subscribe. If you want access to future tips. So I wish you all a happy, healthy life, but divorce happens, alimony happens. If you're in that situation, I hope this video helps you get approved for a little more house if you need to, in order to have your family be set up in a more comfortable manner. So thanks for watching, and I hope you all have a great day.